believe that people coming in from certain countries that have posed terrorist risk to us in the past should be more adequately vetted. And if listing the countries and saying people coming in from these countries must be more thoroughly researched, more thoroughly verified before they're admitted to this country, I have no problem with that, because the president is also responsible for the national security of this country.
That's Republican Betsy McCoy doing what establishment media absolutely hates, explaining common sense border security in plain English. She's laying out basic national security facts while CNN tries to pretend America owes the world open borders with no questions asked. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like Democrats are once again pretending cultural differences don't matter while attacking anyone who prioritizes American safety. Because every time someone lays out obvious facts about terrorism risk, fraud systems, or assimilation failures, the left erupts in outrage rather than address the policy failures. Here's McCoy laying out exactly why Omar's network demands scrutiny.
Isn't the American project supposed to be about treating people as individuals, not as representatives of where they came from, about who their parents were, or whatever, but about who they are and what they can individually contribute to this country. However, what Trump is doing there is basically saying you are worthless if you come from a part of the world that he doesn't think has value. Is that really what we're doing in the United States of America?
That's not true in America. That's
no,
not true.
we in America, we
Sure.
do treat
That's
people
not
as
true.
individuals and appreciate them as individuals. It's one of the greatest things about this country. On the other hand, and I am no fan of Ilhan Omar, and she is in a lot of deep doo-doo now because she is very tangled in this billion-dollar Somali Medicaid fraud scandal in Minneapolis, and she may be touched by this. And of course,
I haven't seen any evidence of her being
I
connected to it,
have.
except for her being Somali.
Let me tell you why
No,
the check and balance.
Excuse
Let me
me.
tell you why
Abby,
this.
there is evidence.
This
that
kind of
she is
rhetoric
tangled
doesn't
into this
matter
web.
because the economy.
You know, the issue here is simple. When you bring in large numbers of people from a failed state like Somalia, you inherit the problems that come with it. Things like the fraud networks, the clan politics, and the massive drain on taxpayers. I mean, Minnesota has poured billions into ESL programs, welfare, and remedial education while watching Somali-speaking proficiency scores collapse and fraud cases explode. Meanwhile, Ilhan Omar has built her entire career on that ecosystem, pulling in massive fundraising hauls, political influence, and cash from groups tied to the very programs drowning in corruption. Nearly half of Somali households rely on welfare. Graduation rates sit around 58% in places like Portland, and nationwide math proficiency hovers near the bottom. None of this is sustainable, and pretending it's a strength only guarantees more fraud, more waste, and more communities overwhelmed.
She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military, they have no nothing, they have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing. They have no police. They police themselves. They kill each other all the time. I love it. She comes to our country, and she's always complaining about the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She married her brother. Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few?
So can we just talk for a second about the blatant racism, though?
Yeah.
What's the difference between Somalia and Norway? Hello?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious that that is what it is, and he doesn't even try to cover
people?
He doesn't even try to cover it up anymore.
No, he doesn't try to cover it.
I don't know if he tried to cover it up.
Races belong or do not belong in this country.
Well, I'm not comfortable with a hierarchy of races, and the president isn't either. But not all cultures are equal, and not all countries are equal. There are some people who come to this country to add value, and there are some that come to this country to take value. And when we've seen in Minneapolis that 50% of the people who were naturalized engaged in immigration fraud, and we're seeing the largest fraud in terms of welfare programs, perhaps in the history of our country, we know there's a problem. And the president speaks in language that Americans understand. He is blunt. He's not a politician. Neither am I. And so I support as he is making people understand the threats that we're under right now.
You know, the hypocrisy from The View is unreal. These hosts praise Norway nonstop whenever they want to sell socialist policies, but the moment Trump says Norway is better than Somalia, they pretend it's some shocking statement. I mean, multiculturalism depends on denying obvious cultural differences, because if Democrats admitted the truth, their whole open borders fantasy collapses. Somalia isn't just different, it's a society shaped by tribal fragmentation, religious extremism, and practices that would never fly in a Western democracy. That's why people flee it for places built on stability and merit. I mean, the left understands all of this when they argue for refugees from these regions, but they refuse to acknowledge any of it when those same problems surface here.
Omar knew what was going on here and maybe profited off it.
Yeah, Rob, so let's take a step back and ask a question. Why do we import any Somalis to America? If you look at Somalia as a nation, you can plainly see that this country is not going to be compatible with Western civilization. Now, you asked about Ilhan Omar marrying her brother. That's horrifying. Being inbred is a very bad thing. But in Somalian culture, Rob, up to 50% of the tribes are inbred. That's first and second cousin marriages. The coefficient there is one of the highest rates of interfamily marriages in the world. Also some of the highest rates of child brides in the world. One of the highest rates of female genital mutilation on earth is from Somalia. One of the highest rates of polygamy and tribal warfare and fraud and piracy, all from Somalia, Rob. So you need to ask the question, wait a second, who decided that this was a good culture to bring here? Here's my test, Rob. My test is the people are the nation. So it's not like you're just bringing over a bunch of Americans, you're bringing over Somalia. So let's say you were to take Somalia as a place and make it a 51st state. Would you want to visit that state? Is that a place you'd want to go?
No, I don't want to visit Somalia. Yeah, it's like spring break Somalia. Would you do that now? It's been a failed state since Bill Clinton, and people think this is exclusive to just Minnesota. It's not. It's unbelievable. And I hope the administration, the vast majority of Somali immigrants in this country right now, we looked this up today, Benny, they're on food stamps. Many are unemployed. Many don't speak the language. And those are just facts. Again, we're going to talk about facts. We're going to deal in facts. Okay, we're not trying to be cruel or unkind to anybody. We love immigrants. We love for them to be legal. But shouldn't there be, and again, I've got about 15 seconds, but some sort of assimilation program set up in this country for legal immigrants?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to tell you, man, I think that America's full. I would like to see net zero immigration for the rest of my life. We did this in the 1920s.
You know, a country only works when people share basic assumptions about family, responsibility, law, and what a good society even looks like. Somalia comes from a completely different framework, and pretending that drops seamlessly into a Western democracy is an ideological fantasy. I mean, that's why Benny talks about net zero immigration. The goal isn't to punish anyone, it's to preserve the kind of national cohesion that made America successful in the first place. A high-trust society can't survive if you keep importing populations shaped by systems that never produced one. Assimilation has limits, and America reached them a long time ago. But let me know what you think. Should America return to net zero immigration to protect our culture and security? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.